Hello, this is Sportmentary joining you for another face-off, and here from Winnipeg is the Comish.
Go Jets, go! Go Jets, go!
Well, funny enough, we're going to be talking about the Bombers in their first two games of the season. That's our topic today. And of course, the bandwagoner Bomber fan is already going, waiting for the Jets season. 2 games in of an 18-game Canadian Football League season. And I'm just going to let him start because he looks like he's chomping the bit here.
Yeah, I can hardly wait for the Jets to play. Actually, instead of watching Bomber games, I'm going to go watch the Jets rookie camp. It's going to be more exciting than these Bombers. I can't understand or stand what Joe Mack has done with the team. They've extended Paul LaPolice's contract. I don't know why. The two of them don't mesh. There's something inherently wrong with the Bombers organization. It's gone from bad to worse. I don't care that they made it to the Grey Cup. I know you're going to argue that. You're going to say, "Oh, they were in the Grey Cup last year." It was a fluke that they got in the Grey Cup, and then cutting all the veterans that they did last year and letting Labatt go from the offensive line, forcing Abi Khan into retirement, cutting Clint Kent, who was he was the assistant captain on defense. They cut him the last week of training camp. None of these moves make sense, and it's showing in the first two games. Oh, and they keep the glass quarterback as the starter. So, Joe Mack, tell me, what are you trying to prove?
Yeah, here we go. I'm not. You already mentioned they got to the Grey Cup, so you did that for me. I actually want to make one point. If you're gonna go back and watch anything about the Jets, watch the first game. It'll bring you to tears. The first game back in Winnipeg, the first game in Winnipeg for the new Jets. Anyway, that's my little bit. Bring you to tears, but it'll be a moment of joy. As far as the Bombers are concerned, dude, I just want to tell you this. You can't have veterans forever. At some point, you have to go with the youth movement, or you find yourself dead. The Minnesota Vikings are in that position. Year in, year out, they bring in the Favre, they'll bring in McNabb, who I call McDunn. Those types of guys who are 95 years old, I don't know how they can play. You can't do that. So the recipe is you go get younger guys and you develop them, and yes, you have a few hard years ahead of you, but in the end, it pays off. And I just think maybe that's what they're doing. I think you need to relax. It's 2 games into an 18-game Canadian Football League season. They have 16 to go. And who's to say that they don't turn around or the young guys start to gel and do what you're looking for? That's really all I have to say on this.
I can't believe that you're actually siding with management in this case. You're agreeing that Joe Mack can come in every year. This is the second year in a row that he's tried to do this youth movement where he replaces proven veterans with rookies, and he thinks that this is going to lead them to the Grey Cup. They fluked it off last year. It was a big
It's a fluke, but the bottom line is, did his management style not get them to the Grey Cup?
You know what got him the Grey Cup was the bad weather in Winnipeg and the fact that the Hamilton Tiger Cats were ill-equipped for it.
You know what? That's enough with the bad weather in Winnipeg. There's games where the Bombers have lost playoff games in the past in bad weather, in cold weather, in the cold Winnipeg. I'm sick and tired of that being an excuse. The New York Giants went into Lambeau Field and won in the tundra. I don't know. I just don't think that's an excuse. The Bombers won. They won fair and square with the elements.
You hear that? That's me booing you.
I'm just saying, dude, coming into this season, and we're not talking what they did in the offseason, but from the Grey Cup, you were pretty pumped for the next season, were you not?
No, I wasn't. Not when.
Let me put it another way.
There was nothing to be pumped about after that Grey Cup.
Are you just not still bitter about Khan having to retire? Is that not what this is about?
I'm bitter that they forced him into retirement.
Forced him into what? Was there any other team that wanted him?
Was there any other team that needed him? The Bombers could use his leadership. And
What
okay,
I'm
so
saying is you're saying
so you let Abi Khan go, but here they have an
he
all-star.
retired. He didn't go anywhere else. He didn't say screw the Bombers. I want to play.
Oh, he retired.
What?
This is where I'm right and you're wrong. If you're gonna let a guy of Abi Khan's stature go, he might not. He was at the end of his career maybe, but one more year would have been enough to at least give the Bombers some veteran leadership on the offensive line. Now it's a totally revamped line. Now you have your veterans are Glenn January and Steve Morley. You don't have Abi Khan. You don't have Brendan Labatt. You have to keep one of those two.
Okay, a question.
Yes, I know you're going to say, yeah, on defense we signed Hefney and we signed Juwan Johnson.
When we were younger, when we were late teens, early 20s, who was the greatest offensive lineman in the era for Canadian football, played for the Bombers?
Of course, Chris Walby.
Who else? Anybody else?
The Bombers had an amazing offensive line back in the 80s.
That's what I tell you. And then they had a period of ho-hum, correct?
The Bombers have had a period of for 18 years, going on 18 years.
You can't have those guys consistently 20, 30 years. At some point, you have to rebuild with an offensive line. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe Chris Walby was not the greatest offensive lineman when he first came into the league, and he had to mature. But once he matured, oh my God, any quarterback that played under him was great, right?
But here's what you're missing. You're missing the point here. They've decided to go with a quarterback that is not very mobile. Buck Pierce, yes, he's known for his ability to scramble, but he does not scramble nearly as much as he used to, and it's got to be because he's so banged up. He is a glass quarterback. He might be a tough guy and play through lots of pain, but he's basically a glass quarterback. Their backups, Alex Brink, he's a big, immobile guy. And then you have Joey Elliott, who's shown a bit of scrambling ability, but he's still not mobile. So you gotta build. The key for the Bombers is a good offensive line. Not only that, they're starting a rookie at running back because Chris Garrett went out. Your buddy Chris Garrett went out with an injury, Achilles.
So I think what we're talking about here is injuries more than anything. If there's one thing I'll say is the quarterback position is probably the most important, and they need a guy who can lead the team. That's the only piece I'm going to give you. The other pieces I want to say, relax. You're bringing in young guys. I don't know if I necessarily disagree with that, like you do, but you got to give them time.
It's not that they're bringing in young guys. It's the positions where it's who they let go. Yes, you have to have youth. I'm not denying that. But when you let go of when you lose Doug Brown, when you let go of Joe Lobodon, Doug Brown, and Clint Kent all in the same year, and not to mention Odell Willis, who they traded to Saskatchewan.
For you is you are the Bombers update man on Sportmentary.com. You are the Bombers section, okay? If they was there signing issues with these guys? Because, Canadian Football League can't pay everybody big money. I mean, what do these guys get paid? 12 cents an hour? So, no, I mean, you laugh, but I mean, maybe that's over exaggeration, but what, 50,000 a year or something like that?
No, it's gone up a bit. It depends on the position, but it wasn't an issue of signing. It's an issue of the mentality of the Joe Mack mentality.
They a bunch of guys so they could pay younger guys less money and develop them.
Not develop them because you don't have time to develop them. Maybe that's what he looks at as because of the way the CFL so screwy with their 18 games and then everybody except 2 teams makes the playoffs. So maybe he thinks he has 5 games.
There you go. So my question is, how many games? Well, let's end it this way, okay? Because we're not going to agree. How many games will it take for the Bombers? How many games do they have to win for them to make the playoffs?
They could probably go 9-9, depending on what the West does.
Do they have 9 games, you think? Because they played Montreal pretty close at the end there. Do they have 9 games that they can win? You see 9 games in them.
I can't see 9 games because I don't see anything positive right now about it.
Is it a possibility?
Anything's possible, but I'll finish with this.
If they make it to the playoffs.
If they make it to the playoffs, they're not going to have a home game. That's guaranteed this year.
Then they
They
don't.
won't
Then
have a
they
home
don't play in the tundra, right?
They'll end up playing in Montreal or
By the
Hamilton.
way, those cities are pretty freaking cold themselves. Don't get yourself wrong.
Montreal plays their playoff games in at the Olympic Stadium, and Hamilton won't be nearly as frozen as Winnipeg was. Here's my point. As always, I'm right and you're wrong. My point is this, and I'll end on this. The defense was their core last year. They let go of Willis. Doug Brown retired. They cut Clint Kent and Joe Lobodon. Okay?
Well,
You can't have a wholesale change on defense like that and expect everybody to pick up where they left off last year. You just can't do that. Joe Mack is on crack.
I'll end with this. I think you're panicking. You're pushing the panic button too quickly. Give it a chance. But if all else fails, come September, you can always watch the Vikings. All right. Well, from south of the border to north of the border, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week, Comish. For those of you listening, log on to sportmentary.com, sportmentary.com. Look for the Face Off tab, and listen to other podcasts, and also vote for this one. Anyway, it was fun. Have a great weekend.
Have a good night.
Bye.